In a ride-sharing world where drivers, whether driving for Uber or Lyft, often feel as though the ride-sharing companies do not give a damn about our safety, could care less how we feel as drivers, up to and including whether you make a profit at all. Today, we actually have some good news. This is coming from Lyft. Some changes at the company, or at least one change at the company that I believe all drivers will celebrate. What up, folks? Once again, it is your boy Tim with another ride sharing video. Now, this may not make a big deal to you depending on what market you're in, but I don't think I've talked to a single driver that was in favor of this. And this comes from an article, a Fortune article titled, "You'll no longer be able to take a carpool ride with Lyft to save money." Now, we're talking about, the shared rides where all of us drivers despised it because they had major issues, left us out on the lurch for things that could happen. And at the end of the day, it didn't really pay you any extra shit to begin with. Now, the spokesperson at Lyft, listen to the reason they gave as to why they canceled shared riding with Lyft. "The problem with shared trips is that they take people out of their way," David Risher said in an interview Thursday. "At some point, you have to pay attention to what your customers want." How about the damn drivers? Did they run this by any driver? I would assume that if Lyft had some sort of poll where they talked to drivers and asked drivers how do they feel about shared rides, the overwhelming response would have been it's bullshit. There are three major issues, and hopefully Uber, which has Uber Pool. Now, Lyft started this in 2014, but Uber Pool came along after that. Now, fortunately, Lyft has gotten rid of theirs. Hopefully, Uber follows suit and gets rid of theirs. But anytime customers are offered something to quote-unquote save money, guess who's going to make less money in the long run? Us drivers. Now, there are three issues in addition to making money why it's clear the Lyft company never talked to us drivers, because this shit would have been gone a long time ago. None of us ever liked this. My veteran drivers in the comments, if you have shared riding in your market, Uber Pool in your market, and you think that it's something good about it that you favor, let your boy know in the comments. Hell, yours truly, maybe I'm getting it wrong, but I strongly feel that overall, drivers in ride sharing never wanted to have two strangers in their vehicle to begin with. It's just not profitable. There's safety issues to it, and one other one. Now, the three issues I talked about: extra work. You're now picking up two passengers, and the total fare you collect is less than it would be if you took those two passengers separately. Took passenger one from point A to point B, dropped them off, then went and got passenger two and took them from point A to point B. I would submit to you that you would earn more having those trips separate than allowing one person to jump in the vehicle while you're en route with the other one. I just simply can see from a driver's perspective why no one would want this shit. Obviously, the next issue is a safety concern. Major safety concern. When you start putting different personalities in the vehicle at the same time, you got a lot of drivers and passengers that get into events. Assaults and crimes happen just from a driver and a passenger. Now you're going to throw a third stranger into the mix. You may be driving down the road when suddenly two passengers are arguing with each other. Hell, what if you operate in an urban area and you happen to pick up a couple ops? People who already got beef between each other. Somebody get in with the wrong colors and you picking up the other guy with the wrong. I mean, there's just so much potential for this shit to go wrong that I don't think any driver ever wanted to have two strangers in the vehicle at the same time. And last but not least, when we talk about the money aspect, anyone that is willing to share the vehicle with a total stranger on the way to where they're going is doing it for as cheap as possible. Meaning, the chances of you getting a tip from a shared passenger is even lower than it is from the regular passengers. And I've done numerous videos to show you that only about 30% or so regular rideshare, Uber and Lyft passengers tip us to begin with. That's the regular folks. Now you're going to take from that crowd and pick folks who want even cheaper rides than that? Now you're probably talking about single-digit percentages in regards to tips. But once again, yours truly invite you folks in the comments, particularly veteran drivers. Are you getting a hell of a lot of tips from folks who utilize Uber Pool and this now defunct Lyft shared rides? I'd submit to you, I don't want nothing to do with it. You want to put a service animal in there and now another stranger got to get in the damn car and notice there's a German Shepherd in the back seat when they may have allergies? Now, I've read the terms of service to you from Uber, which states that drivers must accept service animals. And it says in the terms of service, even if you have an allergy, that is no excuse for not taking a service animal. It's one thing when the driver does it, which is bullshit to force a driver to do it. But now if you're doing a shared ride and another passenger wants that trip, let's say you got passenger A in your vehicle already, and now passenger B is trying to get a Uber Pool ride. So you got to pull up and get this second passenger. And they're standing by the curb with a basset hound or some little small dog, and the other passenger already in your car is like, well, shit, I'm allergic to dogs. You can't tell that passenger, shut the hell up, and you got to let this person in per the terms of service. That ain't going to work. That's just simply not going to work. So now you got a passenger that's in your vehicle already that is pissed off, probably demanding you drive off from that other passenger, or they want to get out of your vehicle. See how complicated this could get? So I don't see how they ever, and I mean ever, consulted with drivers in regards to shared rides and Uber Pool to begin with. This has always been a lose-lose for drivers. But nevertheless, we can celebrate that at least one of the companies, being Lyft, has gotten rid of this. Now, this came, the temporary halt came from the pandemic. Obviously, when you're talking about spacing 6 feet apart, you can't put two strangers in the car. So both companies temporarily halted it, but then brought it back after the COVID pandemic or whatever died down. But shout out to Lyft. For the, we don't get a hell of a lot of good news from the ride-sharing companies themselves. So I'm going to always give accolades to an oasis of good news when we occasionally get them. And if Lyft has decided to get rid of shared rides, I certainly champion it. Now, yours truly, I'm going to decline any shared ride that comes my way. Fortunately, I haven't really had any issues with this in my market, but I know it's out there. I hear from you drivers every day. How do you feel about shared rides and Uber Pool? Let your boy know in the comments. If I got it wrong, I got it wrong. Feel free to correct me. I always invite dissenting opinions. It's your boy Tim. As always, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.